You know, I thought it would be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter, but I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult.
I've tried a couple of times to make this video. I'm going to try to get through it in one take, but there have been plenty of creators that are much more adept at dissecting these things than I am, that have talked about that creator, about the idea of leaving MAGA, about deconstruction, and about forgiveness and acceptance. Okay, I want to tell a very personal story to help you understand my perspective. In 2021, my wife was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and there were 2 types. One was a low-grade serous cancer. The other was a very fast-growing and aggressive type. We were very fortunate in that regard because the low-grade serous cancer typically goes completely unnoticed until it's already reached stage 4 and metastasized, and the odds of survival are very slim. So we caught it very early. And that started a very long process for us. 2 massive surgeries, countless minor procedures, and 2 full chemotherapy regimens. And at the end of it, the only thing that we knew was that low-grade serous cancer was still classified as incurable. Cut to the end of 2024, my wife was accepted into an experimental drug trial, and she's been on it ever since. And by every available metric, the drugs are working. And the cancer it's going away, very slowly, but it's going away. We were given hope. We were given a second chance. And then 2025 happened. I think about the families that will go through the same thing that we have, that will understand the horror that is cancer and the fight against it. And many of those families will not be given the same hope we were. I will never forgive the people who voted for this, ever. Because you will never feel the pain and the suffering that your vote has inflicted on others. And my only hope for you is that you spend the rest of your life atoning for what you have done. Maybe others will forgive you. Not me.
You're not a victim. Toughen up. Whatever you're feeling right now, you played a hand in. But it's the same mentality that caused you to vote for that man in the first place. Because it was so much easier to blame marginalized communities for your problems than to look at yourself, look at the people that are actually at fault and hold them accountable, hold yourself accountable. It was easier to blame trans people, Black people, migrants. And I know there's going to be people in my comments saying, well, we have to welcome them. How are we going to move past this if we don't work together? That's fair. That's fair. I don't have to work with them. I don't have time to sit there and coddle them and hold their hand because there are people that are actual victims of their doing. I got to worry about them. That's number one. Number two, I have to see these people doing the actual work within their communities and with people that they harmed. I have to see that they wouldn't turn around and vote for J.D. Vance or whoever the Republican nominee is in 2028. I have to see them actually hold themselves accountable. Quit with this, it was brainwashed, I didn't know. You knew. You knew. I will never let that go. You knew. You were just okay with it because you thought it was going to benefit you. And I've said this before. I'd rather have them come on here and say, I thought that by harming other people, my life was going to be better. The economy was more important than basic human rights. By the way, we weren't arguing policy with these people. We were arguing about basic human decency and basic human rights. I can have policy discussions all day long, but when you want to take rights and dignity away from other people, the conversation stops. And until I see them actually taking these steps, then I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to babysit them. So instead of coming on TikTok and yapping, blaming others, trying to tell us what we should be doing or how we should be acting, you should be learning. You should be taking accountability. You should be in therapy, if I'm being completely honest.
And I don't think people really realize how counterintuitive the hate that I receive when you can take one look at my page and see that I am doing the work.
This is the part of the process that most women cannot handle. It's where most of them stop. You have to learn to bear the existence of being othered, of being perceived differently than you know yourself to be, of being judged. That's the work, friend. And it's kind of like how when you expect someone to be grateful for a gift, then it makes it not a gift anymore because it was always about you and it was never about them. It's the same thing with deconstructing and activism. It is not just the intellectual waking up and the physicality of going to protests and the organizing of groups. It's also being willing to endure the same discomfort that you have perpetuated onto others most of your life. And I say this with love, as an Asian woman who was adopted by white parents that I love dearly. Things are never harder than we thought they would be. They're harder in different ways that make us uncomfortable in different ways than we thought they would. There are never any shortcuts to your own evolution, so you're going to have to process through rather than around and stop looking for that around. The net will be there. As long as you continue to act from a place of sincerity, you'll find your people. If you chicken out and regress to a place of manufactured victimhood, it will not be. To be serious about a change of heart, a leveling up of discernment, an awakening is what it truly is, then it doesn't matter how many people react poorly to you because you won't be centering yourself anymore. I'm not a professional, but to me, it really feels like this is still so fairly new to you, right? And I feel for you that you're still resisting. You're still kind of holding out hope that you'll be able to get through this without having to surrender your entire self, right? But you're going to have to. You're still in the devastation part of grieving. You haven't quite reached acceptance yet, and it will be easier when you do, The amount of discomfort that you're willing to step into is going to equal the amount of growth and support you'll be able to receive, right? And something else I want you to remember, friend, is that you have come from a bubble of privilege and have therefore always dealt with people of privilege. You haven't ever had to deal with people that have had to endure lifelong trauma or bullying and racism and hatred and ableism and othering. So you will have to learn how to interact with people on a fundamentally different level. Your bandwidth for humility and awareness is going to have to level up just as much as your intentions and your intellectualized opinions and realizations are. Remember that just because people are not praising you and welcoming you on your journey doesn't mean that they're not silently watching and holding out a little bit of hope for you,
I thought it would be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter, but I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult because I'm gaining more empathy.
3 times is wild, and trying to guilt trip and manipulate people for not immediately forgiving you for all the harm and damage you've caused to them is such peak narcissistic MAGA behavior. And I'm glad that you've learned the word centering yourself and you're very positive and open to feedback, so I'm going to deliver this as gently as possible. Now, I don't usually get involved in the ex-MAGA conversations because a lot of people obviously have different opinions that are very complex and valid. But I think for me and a lot of people, it falls under the topic of you don't need to forgive and forget in order to move forward. And a lot of us will never forgive you. And I will agree, like you said in your crime video, it's not necessarily always the most helpful thing to put someone down as they're actively trying to unpack. So in those moments, I adhere to the if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all rule personally. But when I saw your original video that was going viral, here was my thought process that might be helpful for you going forward. First, I saw it, and like everyone else, I thought immediately 3 times, God damn, yikes. And then I opened up the comment section and saw everyone saying, girl, 3 times, we do not forgive you. And to that I said, sounds about right. But then I saw the people who found this information useful. They could relate to you, or maybe their family and friends, and they needed this. And to that I said, those are the people you need to exist for. That's a niche I'm not filling, and I guess someone has to. So understand that the rest of us have been living with this empathy you've recently come across for quite some time, and we're quite tired. And you don't get to harm people for that long and then turn around and immediately demand and expect them to welcome you with open arms. But you do have a niche and a purpose I think you could provide that could bring you that validation you're looking for.
Be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA.
So everyone has seen this already, and I'm very late to the party. But the thing is that I saw this when it first came out, and I wanted to respond, but I didn't quite know what to say. I needed some time to digest and think about it, and I need to think about it for anybody that is recovering MAGA. I mean, if there is such a thing. Now, I think it shows great strength and character when you can recognize that you are wrong and you want to change and you're vocal about it. That takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of courage, because it's not easy. It's embarrassing to admit that things like that have happened to you. And it's embarrassing to admit that you got sucked into a fervor, you know. But on the other hand, this fervor just, you know, was the call of racists and homophobes, transphobes, and misogynists. And you know, if you voted for Trump 3 times, that says more about who you are as a core individual than who you are now. And while I can respect that you have changed, and I want that to be true, and I want to see you happy now, or that you've embraced this change, I also want to see you wearing a scarlet letter for the rest of your days. If you haven't read the novel, you should go read it, but that's what I want for you. I think it is good that you have changed and that you've seen the error every ways, but I also don't believe that you can entirely be trusted. And I do believe that that sin needs to be seen by everyone, because you voted against me, your sister. You voted against your gay brothers and sisters. You voted against your trans brothers and sisters. And all because you thought your life was going to improve. And now you've seen that your life's not going to improve, and so now you're dissatisfied. We can't be sure if it's just because you found empathy, or if it's just because this isn't how you thought the shoe was going to fit, and so now you're dissatisfied with your purchase. And therefore, I want nothing but best for you, but I also want nothing but the best for us. And if I could have MAGA tattooed to your forehead for the rest of your life, I think it would do the world a service. At any rate, I wish you the very best of luck on your journey, and I hope that you live well as you can, knowing what you've contributed to.
This post keeps haunting my feed right now, so I'll address it, because that what this person is not understanding, and again, I'll stand on my soapbox about I hate the word deconstructing, because Indigenous people have been talking about decolonizing for over a century, and decolonizing encompasses the full spectrum of the origin of the harm and who that harm has been inflicted against and why. So when people say deconstruct, you are appropriating the conversation about decolonizing, because then you're making it palatable. You're making it acceptable to yourself, which means that your deconstructing has not finished. Your deconstructing has to go to the point of decolonizing. You have to understand what you are deconstructing, and that is the colonial structure of colonization, the colonial entities that have gone around the world and hurt and harmed Indigenous people. Like, do the full work. Don't do decolonization light. Deconstructing doesn't encompass the full conversation. And when you talk about decolonizing, you have to talk about white supremacy, because white supremacy is built into the system of colonial beliefs, colonial behaviors, colonial societies. And when you look at the structure, the behaviors of white supremacy, one of the primary features is the comfort of people who are in this group. And if we are thinking of the culture of white supremacy, these people are at the peak of the iceberg, the most protected within the system of white supremacy culture. And then below that would be just generally YT people, including white feminists. And I talk very much about the problem of white feminism. And when we talk about comfort in terms of YT supremacy culture, there is the expectation that people that present like her should always feel comfortable. Like they should always be afforded safety and comfort, and at no point should they be perceived as anything but good, anything but kind people. And that's why there is comfort as an expectation and demand within the belief system of YT supremacy. And so to think that you're leaving this bubble and think that you're going to still be wrapped and shrouded in comfort is a false sense of security. Coming out of this means that you have to understand that you've only felt that because of the privilege. And the problem is that privilege isn't about like, oh, I have the privilege of buying a car, or, oh, I have the privilege of, you know, all of these achievements. Privilege is about what your appearance affords you. And when you are leaving this bubble and you are revealing to people that you no longer submit and you no longer uphold this system, you lose your comfort. Because this group, anytime people like me, who present like me, talk about our beliefs and our humanity, we get mocked, we get insulted, we get demeaned, we aren't even treated like humans. Do you think that's comfortable? Do you think that we feel good? So the expectation that you should still be comfortable is a false sense of security that you have been afforded for being a pick-me. I need to make that clear. Being a pick-me. White women who engage in this culture, we've seen the way the president spoke with the men's hockey team. In order to be a part of this group, you have to buy into that identity. When you leave that identity, you're no longer afforded the benefits of being a pick-me, which the pick-me culture will buy into, like, oh, he was just being funny. It was just a joke. But now that you're on the outside of that, you're no longer afforded the comfort. It hurts probably as much as it does because you've been playing in pick-me culture. And now that you're not, this is the way it feels. This is the way it feels for the rest of us who do not buy into this culture.
But I know it's not to beat people while they're already down.
So I understand that you are trying to do your best to deconstruct yourself out of the horrendous belief system that you grew up with, that a lot of Americans grew up with. I was also raised Christian, and I was also fed these beliefs at a young age, but I didn't vote for Trump 3 times. Now, you did, but you're finally waking up. And I'm so happy for you that you've opened your eyes and realized that the people that your party has been advocating against and trying to legislate away the existence of are actually human beings. Congratulations. I'm so happy that you've waken up. Finally. Now. It's a little late, sister. The concentration camps are already being built. We're fucking here. And the fact that you are waking up now just proves that you are at least human. Because it would require a soulless attitude towards humanity to continue to support the right-wing movement in this country at this point. So at least you are proving that you have a soul. Thank you for that. But you are deconstructing yourself from a position of power with vitriol into a position of privilege with empathy. You are not losing anything. You are not... There is no structural oppression for you now that you have empathy. You are not being structurally oppressed. There is nobody who is passing laws making it so that your life is harder because you realized that brown people and trans people might actually be human. So forgive me for not being sympathetic, but then to come onto the internet and to once again lambast the left for not being sympathetic enough, because you're finally waking up at this point in history. Thank God for that. But the whole time that you have been advocating for the power structures that exist and for voting for all of this that have happened, all of our lives have gotten way worse. Like, oh my God, the laws that you voted for are actually ruining my life. Everything got way harder, and I'm white. It's so much worse if you're brown. It's so much worse. So, of course, people are going to be angry. I'm angry. And you flipped the switch on empathy, but you're still attacking the left because apparently nothing is good enough for you. So instead of continuing to center yourself and think about how everybody is hurting me and how everybody is victimizing me, maybe you step back. Maybe you step back and you don't do this. You don't do this. If you want to actually restructure yourself out of these harmful beliefs, you will do yourself a favor and you will stop posting about it. And you will go to therapy and you will fucking learn some things and listen to brown people in your life and listen to trans people in your life and learn like the rest of us did and not cry about us on the internet. Okay? Okay. The healing journey is gonna be great. I'm sure you're gonna be a wonderful ally someday. But maybe it's a little inappropriate to cry about the oppression of being an anti-MAGA right now. Sit down, sweetheart. It's not the time for this.
Because I'm gaining more empathy.
Hey girl, I'm not using this video to be unkind to you. And anybody who uses this and goes through the stitch and finds that video to be unkind to her, just unfollow me. I'm not in the mood for that today.
Done. That was super easy. Anyone else in the mood to tell us that we have to be nice to the people who voted to put us in concentration camps? Anyone else in the mood to extend grace to our oppressors on our behalf? Because I don't need you. And I'm not here for it. And as for that 3-time MAGA voter who's now on here crying because the liberals don't like her, I got a stitch coming for you tomorrow. Stick around, folks. That one's gonna be fun.
I've been deconstructing from Christianity and left MAGA, I do not speak about it because the hate you receive from the left is no different from the hate you received when you were in the cult.
But it is different because the hate that you were receiving when you were part of the MAGA party, that was hate from people that were begging you all not to vote in an adjudicated rapist, begging you all to see the harm that's being done to others and just to care. You know, that's all that it was. Just please don't vote for modern day Hitler again. Don't keep rooting on the just care. And so the fact that y'all didn't care, you did it, you cared more about something else. And so you kept going for it. Justified anger at the fascists, at the, that's what that hate was. Now what you're receiving is justified anger from the people who are looking at that left during World War II when they were seeing Germany fall to shit and seeing it negatively affect them, and it opened their eyes to what other people were going through and whatever, and they're like, you know what, I think this was a bad choice. Yeah, yes it was. And everybody that was begging you not to do it, we're watching you go, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. It's too late. It's too late. And so you are receiving justified and understandable anger. That being said, you are doing something this woman is not doing.
I'm just minding my own business.
Yeah. She's protecting her peace. I don't know if you've seen us responding to people on the left, to Democrats, to people that never voted for Trump in the first place, that are protecting their peace and have been protecting their peace, but we're fucking pissed at them too, and we have been this entire time. I've done plenty of posts on how these pieces of shit we cannot afford to protect our peace. If you think I have not received hate since I first started speaking out, I have. I've received tons, and I delete those comments, but I receive it all the time. I literally had to get rid of my Instagram account after a friend said they can't go on it anymore because the comments are too toxic. It's a dangerous place to be, because I would have thousands of comments from right-wingers telling me that I'm an idiot because I think that Trump is Hitler, that I'm a Jew because of my nose, I don't look like I'm white, so what am I? So they could figure out how much they hate me, that I should be hung. That was my entire comment section for every single video that I put out. So yeah, I had to get rid of that, because being attacked by hate groups when you're speaking out against fascism and begging people to care, that can fuck you up. But I didn't stop speaking out. I came to TikTok. If you think I don't receive hate here, you would be wrong. I just delete those comments. But that hate is unjustified. That is evil.
What people don't understand is how hard it is to actually wake up and realize your entire life has been a lie.
So many more people understand it than you think. I was raised Christian. My father is a chaplain. I was raised in the church. I was baptized when I was 15 years old. I believed in it so firmly. I believed gay people were going to hell. I believed that abortion was murder. I believed these things, and I do understand how hard it is to walk away from that and to wonder, even just a little bit, when you've moved so far past that, when you've become my level of left, what it feels like to still wonder, am I going to burn in hell for the rest of my life? Is not raising my son Christian going to make him burn in hell for the rest of his life? Because that's how I was raised. That is internalized on the deepest level that, yeah, a lot of people will never understand. But there is a level, a point that your conscience has to kick in. And so much justified anger is there for the people who were raised in that same toxic, patriarchal, bullshit, authoritarian religious system, and their conscience never kicked in.
And now you have to start over from scratch?
I left everybody and everything that I knew behind, and I started alone in a state that I knew no one. And I had to find myself, and I had to do it alone. I completely understand.
I'm not going to allow any negativity from anyone into my life. It's hard enough to do this.
Look, we do need to protect our mental health while we navigate through the excruciatingly devastating and tortuous task of deconstructing our reality as we know it. Because when you are born into this, you are indoctrinated into this bubble where it's your world. That is the world. That is truth. That is real. What's real is gay people are going to hell. What's real is if you have an abortion, you're a murderer. What's real is you're going to burn in hell for all eternity if you sway. What's real is the devil is who gets you to ask questions and seek outside of the Bible. That's what's real. To deconstruct from that is insane. We do need to protect our mental health, but there's a difference between protecting your mental health and shielding yourself from natural repercussions of your actions.
Not only that, I'm not going to be a part of any political party or religion ever again, so the expectation of the left thinking we have to vote blue now in order to make amends or something is not something I want to be a part of.
Now, this part of the conversation can go a lot of different ways, but the fact of the matter is the people that voted for Trump helped get him into office, and the people who did not vote helped get him into office.
The amount of "I'll never forgive you" I see in your last video is enough for me to never try to speak up on anything that's happened to get me here.
This woman is not sorry, and she has not changed. When you are sorry, you take accountability. You accept the repercussions of your actions, and you do it with integrity and honor. This woman has no integrity and no honor. She's centering herself still. She's protecting herself still. She is putting herself first. When you do wrong, if you are sorry, you do your best to rectify that. There is no rewinding the clock here, but you have a duty. You have a duty to speak out louder than everybody else. You have a duty to fight harder than we are. That's what you have. That's what she has. You're actually trying. You're actually showing integrity and bravery. You're posting about how you understand that this post in and of itself was still centering yourself, still putting your thoughts and feelings first, and you're understanding you're growing. And that's great. She's not. When somebody apologizes with an expectation they're going to be treated a certain way, when someone takes accountability but expects to be treated a certain way, expects a certain response and gets upset if they don't get it, or if they're not going to get the response they want, then they're just not going to. They're just going to stay quiet, protect their peace or whatever. They are not sorry. They are not taking accountability. They're not growing. They're not doing anything differently. She will vote for Trump too. She will vote the same way that she always has. She'll find somebody who twists what he says a little bit differently, and because she never acted with integrity, bravery, did anything to show she was actually sorry, apologized for the right reasons, or even cared enough to apologize because she was too worried about being uncomfortable or people being mean to her or what have you. You don't apologize because of what you get. You apologize because it's the right thing to do. So what does she do? Actively avoids taking responsibility, completely evades any accountability, and blames other people for her actions. You know who that sounds like? MAGA.
Seeing my truth and removing myself from it has been the hardest thing I've ever done.
And she clearly has a very long way to go. Look, there are going to be people that never want you to sit at their table. It will never matter to them. They will never want to know you, and they will never want to be friends with you. There are tons of people that never want to know me or be friends with me, and those are not my people, okay? So just keep speaking out. You are doing the right thing by doing that. You're doing the right thing by listening, and you are setting an example for the other MAGA that either want to leave but are afraid to, or have left but aren't ready to take true accountability, that don't understand what growth actually is and don't understand what it is that they actually have to deconstruct from, because it goes far beyond biblical beliefs. And I'm just going to end with this. A lot of people leave organized religion, but do not leave their sort of Christian faith, their relationship with God. They have to redefine it and understand what it actually is. But what a lot of Christians forget about the Bible is that Jesus and God call for humility. And what you are showing is humility. She is not.
About leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter, but I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult.
Girl, no one cares how you feel after leaving MAGA. We only care about whether or not you're going to make the choice starting today to be part of the solution, or if you're going to continue to be part of the problem. I'm not here to give you another lecture because you've had enough this week, but I am going to give you 10 action steps that you can walk away with today if you decide to actually do the work. And to be clear, I'm not invested in your personal growth journey. You can either do this or not. That's up to you. Number 1, stop talking about yourself and your feelings. Like I said, nobody cares. Your platform is no longer about deconstructing from MAGA. It's about resistance and activism and education and organizing, dissemination of information, current events. If you want to use your platform for good, that's the best way to do it right now. You belly aching about how hard it is to be ex-MAGA in March of 2026 is not helping any resistance movement. It's not helping anybody, actually. Number 2, to the people that you have in your real life that you've done actual harm to. Those people in your life that you still desire to have a relationship with that were never MAGA, and who definitely saw the worst side of you for the last 10 years while you voted for that man 3 times. You need to go atone for your sins directly, face to face, to every single person that you desire to have a relationship with. That's a familial relationship, a friend relationship, a close collaborative work relationship with, every single one of them. Do not expect every single one of them to welcome you back into their lives with open arms. If you're going to expect strangers on the internet to feel safe around you, then you should probably work on that in real life with your people as well. Number 3, you need to stop fooling around with all those MAGA people that are still in your life. You need to go no contact. And yes, I mean family too. How do you expect, again, a bunch of us strangers on the internet to trust you and your judgment and your platform if you can't distance yourself from the actual problem, which is the people that still believe in this shit? If you are financially independent and have the ability to do so, there's no reason for you to be going to Sunday dinner with a house full of MAGA folks. Distance yourself from them for now and make some new friends that'll open up your worldview a little bit and help you evolve as a human being. Number 4, you need to either get into your community or you need to get out of your community. That means you need to get out of your house and find some people to help in your community. Meet some people that are outside of your sphere and your culture. Learn something about people that don't look like you and live like you. Help people that are less fortunate than you. You need to actually do something. You need to go out into the world and take some actionable steps to make the world a better place. I don't care if you volunteer somewhere. I don't care if you start a nonprofit organization or a community project, deliver food to people that are stuck in their houses because of ICE raids. Whatever you decide to do it without the desire for clicks and adoration. Because at the end of the day, we also don't care how much good you've been doing in the world. We don't want a tally sheet of all of your good deeds. Number 6, educate yourself and then use your platform to educate other people about what you've learned and how you've grown. Might I suggest you starting with the book White Fragility? Number 7, listen and humble yourself. Shut up and listen to marginalized voices. Okay? Let people educate you about the lives that they live so that you're not making assumptions about people that you don't even know. But you need to humble yourself because you haven't really come to the place where you're really accepting all of the harm that you've caused. And if it still hurts your ego, that means you still have work to do. Number 8, and this is really, really important, okay? If through your deconstruction journey this year, if you cannot bring yourself to go to the polls in November and vote blue, stay the fuck home. I know you're saying you're never going to pledge allegiance to any political party ever again, and that's fine. I feel you. But if you can't bring yourself to vote blue during this midterm election, knowing how crucial it is for our survival, the most helpful that you can be for all of us is if you just stayed home. Number 9, stop apologizing now. Nobody cares. You made it past the whole I'm leaving thing. We do not care how sorry you are. There is not a proper amount of sorries and God forgive me's that you can throw at the internet that will make us like you more. Again, the only thing we care about is you doing the work. The only thing we care about right now at this point is how useful you are to the resistance movement. Number 10, please, for the love of whoever you pray to, go to therapy. And I mean that sincerely. And then leave us out of it. Find a professional because you need one. Just like anybody who is leaving a cult, and leave us out of that process. Do not post a single video about it. It's not going to help your engagement, and it's not going to help your likability either. Just take that one for what it is.
Actually, feels like it's getting more difficult.
So she voted MAGA specifically for Trump 3 times, and now she has left MAGA, is deconstructing what she once believed, and is discovering that it was all lies. So she's confused because she's now left the cult and she wants to join the side of sanity, the people who have been trying for over a decade to pull her back from the ledge, saying, don't do it, don't do it. MAGA is a cult. You're in a cult. Stop being a part of the cult. So now she's left the cult and she is deconstructing and she is breaking it down and she is feeling things that she didn't feel before because she is seeing things that she didn't see before, that she is hearing things that she never heard before, which to anybody who is not a part of the cult sounds insane. Because we all know all about, God, every crime, it seems. And for her, it's like brand new. And it's hard to have empathy for that situation, despite the fact that she was living in an echo chamber and she was brainwashed. So she's not getting a hero's welcome for leaving, because people are like, but you're saying you didn't know these things. Of course you knew these things. Everybody knew these things. But I think she's an interesting case study, both her own journey, but also the way people are responding to her, because I don't know exactly where I sit on it. On the one hand, I want people to be nice to her because I want her to feel like it's safe to continue forward in this journey of learning and growing and moving forward and trying to bring other people away from the cult with you. I don't want her to get lonely and go back because it was easier. But that's kind of like doing the work, right? Doing the work means that you have to be willing to face being uncomfortable and lonely. And to be uncomfortable and lonely in front of millions of people on TikTok, that's kind of brave. So my hat is off to her for that. I just wish that I could explain to her, hey, the reason people don't like you even though you left is because you actively participated in the destruction of our democracy, in the destruction of education, of food, of healthcare accessibility. You have chosen a side previously that's taking us into a new foreign war, with Iran. Gas prices are about to go up. Nobody can afford their groceries anymore. So, people are a little mad by your choices, dear. What else should she do? I am curious. What else could she do? What else should she do? I don't have an answer.
I thought it would be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter. But I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult because I'm gaining more empathy. And I don't think people really realize how counterintuitive the hate that I receive when you can take one look at my page and see that I am doing the work.
Two things can be true at once. And I want to say this with empathy and love, right? I am happy and glad that more people are realizing that they were misinformed. I'm glad that more people are changing their side of the aisle. I'm glad that people are having an epiphany and having empathy all of a sudden. Another thing that is true is that a lot of people are really suffering so that you can have this epiphany, and we really wish we could have had it a year ago or 2 years ago.
It's the fact that she said it's more difficult now because she has empathy, which makes sense, right? Once you gain empathy for something, you're more susceptible to being like emotional to stuff, and it's difficult to kind of control that. So it's kind of nice to hear that you have gained this empathy. I mean, you should have had it this whole time. Let's be honest here. You should have had like a little bit of empathy for what was going on this whole time. But to realize that, oh, I actually do have these deep feelings about these things that are serious and should be talked about more, and that aren't actually humane things that are happening.
Yeah.
It's nice for them to finally realize that. But I mean, it should be difficult. It should be difficult because you believed this whole agenda this whole time that this was the best, this was better, this was blah, 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 blah. When underneath the surface here, people were suffering. So now you kind of have to feel the way other people have been feeling this whole time. So now you're caught up. Now you're feeling all of those years of emotional trauma and shit that's been going on all at once.
I recognize she fucked up. I don't want to waste time beating random strangers to the ground online. That is not what I want to do.
Yeah,
I think it's more take your licks, but also I don't want to. It's just I don't know if it's helpful. I don't know if it's constructive.
About leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter.
I don't think anyone is saying that, forgiveness won't come. I think the thing is we're trying to tell you it's not going to come instantaneously. You voted for him not once, not twice, but 3 times. We're going to have to live with the repercussions of your votes for quite a long time. So no, forgiveness isn't going to come instantaneously. It'll come, just not as quickly as you want it to. And you're centering yourself in that, and that's not okay. You're not entitled to our forgiveness. You have to understand where we're coming from, and we're not the bad guys for being cautious and for being upset. So just hang in there, it's coming.
The amount of "I'll never forgive you" I see in your last video is enough.
Hi Carter, I come to you as a sister in deconstructing to give you some support and be real with you. I've been deconstructing so on this app I talk about that I was born and raised in the Deep South, raised to be a racist, and have been deconstructing that for the last 15 years. I also was raised to be a Republican, was raised to be an evangelical Christian. I started deconstructing my religion probably about 6 years ago, and I stopped voting for Republicans when Trump got on the scene. Now, I do not come to you on a high horse about the fact that I'm not MAGA and haven't been. I just got there sooner, and that's fine. And I'm so glad you're here. And I want to tell you, one, do not listen to the haters, not the ones on the left, not the ones on the right. On this app, I would turn off, I have my filters, so it like filters out the really hate comments, and I have never gone and looked at them. That's not going to help me. I know what I'm doing is right. You know what you were doing is right. So keep doing it for you, for your family, for your future, and don't listen to the haters. No one should be on a high horse about finding the truth about something or coming to some new level of understanding for someone else, because we all have blind spots. We've all done things in the past, whether it's about politics or religion or racism or financial or whatever. We've all made bad decisions in the past and have learned from them, or have taken in new information and become new people. And that is what you're doing. And you're doing it in real time, in front of everyone on the internet, growing in real time. And that is a commendable journey. So good for you. And just know that like you will find community. It may take some time. I have found community on here. I still live in the Deep South. I don't have a lot of community of people that feel the way that I feel. I'm surrounded by MAGA. I'm surrounded by Republicans. I'm surrounded by racists. I'm surrounded by evangelical Christians. And you'll get through it. I promise you. Just don't listen to the haters. And know that like you can join the left. If you want to support progressive policies, if your empathy is growing and you want to participate in elections on the left, or you want to get involved, or you want to support progressive policies, you can do that. And you do not need people on the left to give you permission to do that. So if they want to hate on you for just joining up, let them. Just let them. That is their baggage to carry, not yours. I hope this helps. I'm part of your community now, and I hope you'll be part of mine. You're doing the right thing.
Someone who was raised MAGA, here are the 3 things that made me realize it's a cult so I could get the fuck out. Number 1, the fact that a lot of MAGA members would literally give up their religion if it meant following Trump. A lot of them fully believe that Trump is a savior and that he is like Jesus Christ. And while this is on the extreme end, a lot of them would do whatever he asked of them, and that is shown by how much he gets in donations from these people who don't have a lot to give. Number 2, the way that MAGA discourages free thinking and questions, generally speaking. If you do have a question and you ask anyone in MAGA, they will repeat the same bogus bullshit that is a tagline every single time. For instance, one time I asked what would happen to the immigrants of 20 or 30 years in America who have communities and families here. Would they be deported? And they simply said, anyone who is here illegally has to go. It is such a rehearsed tagline that they don't even actually consider what that would mean in their lives. And number 3, the insane merch and the way that they construct their identity around being part of this cult. It's their social life, it's their religion, it's everything, it's their way of life, it is who they are, which is way more than a politician should ever be in your life, like ever.
People do not owe you forgiveness for finally leaving MAGA. They just don't. And I know that that's not a popular sentiment with people, but I completely stand by that. I was scrolling and came across a video of somebody that was in tears because they were talking about how they've been deconstructing and they finally left MAGA, but they don't ever want to be a part of any political party ever again because of the backlash they received. And the backlash, mind you, being people going, I'm sorry, but it's too late. You've caused so much damage. Like, I can never forgive you, which I think is completely fair. And it shouldn't be expected to get an overwhelmingly positive response given the situation we're currently in. I can understand the fact that people are saying, oh, we should welcome them with open arms. I completely get that. But when you for 10 years have been telling people to look around and observe the things that are right in front of their face, especially when the things are racism, misogyny, transphobia, hatred, homophobia, and they can't see it, after 10 years, you're going to be like, okay, well, too little, too late. Like, I've been screaming it at your face and now people are dying. I'm sorry, but anyone that is a triple voter of that man is partially responsible for that. If your response to people rightfully criticizing you as someone that recently left MAGA is to now threaten to continually not vote in the way that is going to stop this stuff from happening, then you weren't deserving of forgiveness in the first place. Because clearly you still don't get it. I'm glad that there are people that are willing to forgive and move forward and, welcome these people with open arms, but it should not be the expectation that everyone is going to want to do that or be okay with it, especially with how many people have been killed, deported, imprisoned, and everything that we're seeing in our current climate. Forgiveness should not be the expectation. And if you are someone that left MAGA, we're very happy that you did that. I hope you continue to deconstruct and teach the people around you. You also have to accept the criticism and the fact that you have harmed hundreds of thousands of millions of people. And people are going to hold you accountable for that. Does that suck? Yes, but that's part of the deconstructing.
There's a video going around that's at like 130K views right now of a woman crying, and the caption on the video says, I'm leaving MAGA, or I'm deconstructing my views on MAGA. So unfortunately, against my better judgment, I'm intrigued. So I sigh, roll my eyes, and let the video play. Not even 10 seconds into the video does she admit that she voted for Donald Trump all 3 times. Not once, not twice, but every singular time he ran for office, she voted for him. But, oh my God, I haven't cussed all. What? You get absolutely no compassion for me. Zero, zilch, none, nada. No, you get no compassion. 3 times? At that point, it's in you. It's in you. That's who you are. 3 times! Okay. Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be real honest. The reason why I can't trust and forgive you is because I know that the whole reason why you were able to so easily fall into the MAGA cult is because you're a narcissist. Because the fact that you're at your big age telling us now that you're having to learn empathy and that empathy was not something that was inherent for you is a raging red flag, and it's tied to narcissism. See, I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but I'm just saying people with narcissistic personality disorder can appear to have empathy when it benefits their image. But their primary focus is self-preservation and ego. It's all about protecting that ego. And other people's pain only registers according to how much that pain from the other person affects them personally. See, narcissism tends to cluster around certain trends like grandiosity. We're great. We're the best. We're number one. They have very fragile hidden egos. They have intolerance of any type of criticism and more of a it's us versus them worldview. See, research into political psychology shows that people with high collective narcissism view their group as exceptional, but also underrepresented and unfairly treated. And those beliefs fuel the fear of outsiders. See, it's not just a I'm special type of belief. It's my group is superior and also under attack. And that narrative fits very neatly into nationalist rhetoric, which is why we see so many white Christians that lean MAGA turn out to be narcissists. And they're all being led by a malignant narcissist. He has a need for loyalty. He's vindictive towards criticism or critics. He dehumanizes his opponents and has zero tolerance for dissent. And then he has that charisma they all talk about, and it gets paired with the cruelty that's in his heart. And see, that's where we see authoritarian movements centering themselves around people who think that they are the only one who can fix things, that he's the victim of conspiracies, and that he embodies the nation. He is the nation. Because look at how they worship that man. And the point at which it becomes a cult is when it's the identity fusion. If you attack him, you're attacking me. Their entire being and identity and who they see themselves as is wrapped up in him. And the belief in this group that they think are superior, but also under attack and needs a savior. So I'm sorry, I just can't trust somebody who comes from that belief system or who doesn't automatically have empathy within their hearts. Because what do you mean you're having to learn empathy at your big age of 30-something? You're having to learn to be empathetic to other people? I don't know, it just gives me the ick.
One of the things I find interesting about the current situation is that a lot of people are reacting to people who are leaving MAGA with anger and blame, and I think it's understandable because they are, people who deserve a lot of blame. But to me, the most important thing right now is what is the most likely to help? And encouraging people to leave MAGA, I think, is very clearly something that is going to help more than focusing on the guilt of the people who were MAGA in the past. Even though I agree that MAGA people have caused a lot of harm in the world and that is blameworthy, I am not particularly interested in that. I don't really care about that. I care about what is most likely to help right now. And what's most likely to help is to help people see what's going on in the world more clearly. And if they can see, then maybe they can start healing the situation in themselves and others around them. We are all suffering here, and there are some people who are really in dire situations. So stopping that or slowing it down to me is the most important thing to do right at this moment. And I'm not particularly interested in who deserves forgiveness or who deserves blame. That's not a relevant question to me. And I find it interesting that both people on the right and the left are so concerned with this. It's built into the culture, but the very culture that you guys who understand the harms that MAGA has caused in the world, and part of the reason why they've done that is because they're the ones who are calling people evil and focusing on who's to blame. And is that really the most effective way to mitigate the harm? This woman's talking about the fact that she's left MAGA and she accepts the blame, she accepts the criticism that people are hurling at her, but at the same time she's making the point, which I think is right, that is that really the most helpful thing? Even though she accepts it, is that really the thing that is going to help more people wake up from the nightmare, the delusion, the cult?
For those that don't know, I am a 3-time Trump voter. I left MAGA in 2025. I am trying to use my voice the best way that I can and sharing information that I'm learning for the first time ever. I did not know about Katie Johnson. Do you know who Katie Johnson is? If you don't, it's a name you should probably know. And if you search her name, you'll find out that it's a pseudonym. You'll also find out that her story isn't credible, hasn't been proven, and per Trump is a hoax. However, the FBI found her to be so credible, they used her testimony to prosecute and convict Ghislaine Maxwell. She includes this in the lawsuit.
I think it's great that you want to use your platform to educate other people that are still MAGA. But unless you're willing to vote against him and flip Congress in the midterms, This is all just performance. And I'm just using her as the example because there's many more like her. So this message goes to everyone who's leaving MAGA. And if you say, well, I'm just not going to vote because the other side is just corrupt, or you call it the radical left, not voting is a vote for Trump. You always vote for the less corrupt party as long as this is the system that we have to work with. Because otherwise, you may end up with the more corrupt president. It's just like business. Do you know how many times I've worked with people that I couldn't stand and wanted to slit their mother? But I tolerated them because we had a job to get done. As long as they weren't doing anything illegally, business had to get done. And I tolerated them until I was in a position to make a change myself. Whether that meant leaving the company or getting promoted and getting them the there. I'm going to reiterate this. The reason we're in the position that we're in is because 85 million people did not show up to vote in the last election. If votes didn't matter, Mike Johnson wouldn't have said this.
If we lost the midterms, heaven forbid, if we lost the majority in the House, it would be the end of the Trump presidency. And
Steve Bannon wouldn't have said they're all going to prison if they don't win the midterms. And he wouldn't be threatening to have ICE surround the polls if your votes didn't matter. Congress is dominated by Republicans right now. You saw them all cheering for his ass during the State of the Union. Talk is cheap. And clearly you fell for it once before. So put your money where your mouth is, because you better damn sure believe they're doing everything they can to make sure they stay in power. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If you refuse to use your power, then don't cry victim later when someone else uses their power against you.
So I told my in-laws that I have left MAGA and I'm a leftist now. And my mother-in-law basically cried. And when we were hugging, she told me, she's like, you're finally really my daughter-in-law now.
Now I'm going to play this video in full so you all can watch it, because it's very interesting on how it feels to leave the MAGA cult. It's not as easy as anybody would think, because all of your friends, all of your loved ones, all of your family that are in this cult will ossify you. The MAGA cult, whether they're family or friends, will literally put you outside. Absolutely. That's how deep and deranged these MAGA are. They toss their friends, they toss their family for an absolute traitor. Let's watch this brave young woman tell her story now on how she left MAGA, and then letting her family know and her mother-in-law know. Watch.
So I told my in-laws that I have left MAGA and I'm a leftist now. And my mother-in-law basically cried. And when we were hugging, she told me, she's like, you're finally really my daughter-in-law now. And I get that. I get thinking that. You know, to be able to be embraced for being able to change my mind and not feel judged about it was really awesome. So if you are contemplating leaving MAGA and you're scared to tell people, yes, it's scary, there's fear around it, but once you do it, you're like, why was I even scared of that? No, I still haven't told my parents yet, and I mean, they're genuinely gonna, this is what's so sad, is they're gonna genuinely think that I sold my soul. Which is crazy. Sorry to pull myself together, but yeah, it's crazy. And like, that is scary, having them think that. But the moment you stop caring about what other people think is the moment you can finally start living. It's gonna be painful, and it's gonna hurt, and you will literally feel like you were being unalived. You will feel like you were goo in the cocoon, but you will be a butterfly on the other side of this.
The analogy that she just used, where you're the goo in a cocoon, and you will become a butterfly after this, is exactly the way I felt when I left the Republican Party. I was a misogynist. Might have even been a racist. I was taught all horrible things, that I'm better than everybody else. If you don't look like me, I'm better. It took years and years of deprogramming to realize I am not better than nobody. I am equal, just like it says in the Bible. We are all created equal. This young lady is going to go through a few things. One of the things that I had to go through of my deprogramming through the years, and by the way, every single day is a learning experience. Every single day that passes, I become a better human being, not being part of that MAGA cult. One of the biggest things in that MAGA cult, or that Republican Party, we judge. I'm sorry. We judged. I used to judge, and I hated myself because I judged myself. I judged myself, so then I would judge others on how much money they made, what kind of car they drove, what church they went to, what religion did they follow. It's none of my business. And that's the whole thing. The only person that I can change is myself. And that's what I've learned. The MAGA cult, they judge. They look down on people. They always have to find somebody to punch down on. That's their motto. So take it from me, young lady. I was in your shoes too. And I hope to God that your parents accept you when you come out and say that you have left the MAGA cult. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. And if you haven't followed me yet, please do. Have a day!
For the people that are leaving MAGA, I need you to understand that the reason why you are not being welcomed with open arms is that nothing fundamentally about how you feel has changed. You just no longer feel like the commander-in-chief has you and your best interests at heart. You don't all of a sudden have compassion and empathy for others, for marginalized groups. You're just mad because things are expensive and you believed him when he said he was going to make everything affordable. You could still care less about black and brown people or people who just simply have an accent, being racially profiled, being chased down in their cars, being afraid to leave their homes. You still could care less about human beings. You're just mad because you feel like he lied to you. He betrayed you. And now you're like, I'm one of you. No, you're not. Because our vote was never about the cost of eggs. Yours was. Not to mention your racism, sexism, bigotry, racial superiority, especially if you are a third-time voter. Because the only reason why you're not voting for him again is because you can't. You never cared and you still don't. But you're tired of being ostracized. You're tired of losing friends. You're tired of people not wanting to come around you for the holidays. And now you're tired of it. So now all of a sudden it's like, I want to be one of you now. It doesn't work that way. Because fundamentally, those same bigoted hatred views are still the views that you hold. But now you're asking for compassion from the same people that you showed no compassion for. Instead of looking for sympathy, you should be looking for other people who left MAGA. Those are your people.